NFL draft, and he has Colorado's Shedeur Sanders as the third best quarterback available now. Obviously, the first being reigning Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams, expected to be the number one pick. But Mel Kiper says that Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders' son, should be among the first three quarterbacks taken in the 2024 draft if he makes himself available. And Mel Kiper Jr. added that if Sanders were to stay in school another year, basically get Caleb Williams out of his way, he would then become Caleb Williams and be projected as the number one pick in the 2025 NFL draft. Nobody was talking about this guy this way 3 months ago or even 3 weeks ago. But through the first 2 weeks of Colorado's season, I don't know how much you've watched of it, but he looks the part. He looks special.
I've followed Shedeur since he was at Jackson State.
Right.
And so my question
Okay, let me ask you this. Did you see NFL quarterback when you watched him there?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's doing all the same things. He's just doing it there. And you I think what happens is, because I want to acknowledge ignorance. I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
But what I'm assuming happens, it's a little bit like the Luka Doncic stuff. You'll follow me. You're watching Luka Doncic do all this stuff in Europe, and it's like literally unprecedented stuff. Nobody his age has ever done it, and yet he still went third in the draft. And the question was, yeah, he can do that level, but can he do it at this level? Mm-hmm. When he's dealing with NBA athletes, is he going to be able to get a shot off? And then, you know what we found out? You take Luka Doncic, you put him in the NBA, it looks exactly like it looked when he was in Europe. He's doing the exact same things against this competition that you were skeptical he could, that he did against this competition. Shedeur Sanders, same thing. You watch him at Jackson State, you go, I'm assuming, yeah, but like, does this translate to like, what if he was in major conference, like SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, whatever? Then what it would look like? Well, you just take him, you put him over here, and you know what it looks like? Exactly the same. Looks exactly the same.
But we've seen other FCS players come through and it be recognized.
Oh, sure.
Right.
So it was recognized with McNair.
Flacco. Wasn't he FCS? Wasn't he North Dakota? What was that?
Wentz? Was it Delaware?
Delaware. Flacco was Delaware. I think Wentz was North Dakota or something like that, where like we've seen the hype train for these quarterbacks at the FCS level start before their season start, respectively, whenever their big season is. And we didn't see that with Shedeur last year. And some of it is, to your point, like, hey, the level of competition is different and the lights are on you. You're playing at Jackson State. You're on HBCU Go or you're on ESPN Plus. You're not on Big Noon Kickoff. So you're doing this in front of everybody's eyes. And so now people are more aware of what he's doing. But he was doing this type of stuff both years at Jackson State.
He's listen, I've watched him play 2 games. And in those 2 games, he looks the way you're supposed to look. You know, if you want, he looks like an NFL quarterback to me. And what's interesting is Kiper says, again, if he were to stay in school another year, he'd be the number one pick in the 2025 NFL draft, which leads to the question, will he? Should he? On one hand, if you're a projected first-round draft pick in the NFL draft, you go, right? Mm-hmm. Like those guys don't usually come back to school. On the other hand, you don't need money. Mm-hmm. You're not just staying in school to help some school. It's your dad's program. You could be, he might win the Heisman this year. And you could come back and try to be a 2-time Heisman Trophy winner for your dad at college. Like, my point is, he's got a more difficult decision to make. If this is just change his name and change his school, and he's the third quarterback on the big board, reasonably believed to go in the first round, you got to go. Mm-hmm. But with Shedeur Sanders, I don't think it's as obvious that you got to go, because you are giving up something real. A chance to either be a first-time or a second-time Heisman Trophy winner, a chance to, let's not rule anything out, compete for a national championship, and to do it for your dad. Like, you'll never get that back. If you leave it, you never get it back. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays in school another year.
I wouldn't either, and we've seen quarterbacks do this. Didn't Andrew Luck come back, and he could have left? Peyton Manning, I think, is one that immediately comes to mind. Like, oh, Peyton could have left, and he came back, had unfinished business, wanted to beat Florida, and win the national championship, win the Heisman.
Sometimes it really is unfinished business stuff. Sometimes it is your family circumstances.
Yeah. But in both of those cases, with Peyton and with Luck and with Shedeur, and all three, Nobody's hurting for money in those families.
That's right. And if you remember, to go back to college basketball, the last back-to-back national champion we had was Florida in 2006 and 2007. Well, they brought that whole team. They brought the entire starting lineup back. They won it, and then everybody came back. So you're like, man, how did they get all those guys to come back? Well, you know where it starts? Who was the star of the team? Joakim Noah. Dad's a tennis player. Mom's a model. Came from money. So it wasn't like, I got to go get my money right now. It's like, I'm having fun. This is awesome. And I'm comfortable. Like signing $20 million contracts and $50 million contracts, I don't care how much money you got. That means something. Yeah. But these guys, it's not like I got to take care of mom and dad. So Joakim Noah was the star of the team. He said, I'm coming back because I don't need money. I want to keep doing this. So who was the next? Al Horford. Dad played in the NBA. All right? Torian Green, not a real NBA player. Lee Humphrey, not a real NBA player, so they don't have the options. So now Horford and Noah are coming back because they come from money and they want to keep doing this. The two guards aren't real NBA prospects. And then it's Corey Brewer, who did come from a humble background, right? But at that point, he's like, well, if everybody else is staying, I'm staying. And that's how Florida becomes back-to-back national champion. Lots of times these decisions are tied to, do I have to take this money to change life for everybody? Or can I keep doing what it is I would prefer to do because the money isn't as much of a necessity as it might be for somebody else? And with Shedeur Sanders, that's where we're at. Yeah. He's not going to need the money the way another guy might. And that might be the thing that brings him back to school for another year. I hope. I was about to say I hope so. I hope he does whatever he wants to do. That's what I hope. But I enjoy watching him play college football. I love the Colorado story. And it was confirmed yesterday that I'm not the only one. Do you see the television numbers for this?
I missed those.
If Alabama-Texas was the most watched college football game on Saturday, barely, over Colorado-Nebraska, but also entirely because it had a secondary feed. It had two streams, two feeds. And they add those feeds together and they say, this is the most watched college football game of this weekend and on ESPN since 2015. But if you reduce it to just one stream, Colorado, Nebraska had more people watching it than Alabama, Texas. Think about that. Yeah. That's how big of a deal this Deion Sanders thing is. As many people decided to watch one win from last year, Colorado, against unranked Nebraska, than wanted to watch Alabama against Texas. Oh, and one of these games was played at 11 a.m. Central, and the other one's played in prime time. It was, before the Pac-12 fell apart, it was sort of clowned a bit that the Pac-12, a source close to the Pac-12, had said that they felt really good about their television negotiations, where they would go. Obviously, they were wrong because it went nowhere, and that's why the league no longer is going to exist as it was. But one of the things somebody said was the Pac-12 believes that they will get a better deal than they otherwise would, strictly because of the presence of Deion Sanders, because people will want to watch this guy. And I plead guilty to this. When I heard that, you know what I said? Come on. Yeah. Like, Deion Sanders is not worth a media rights deal in and of itself. People ain't just going to tune in to watch Deion Sanders. Like, you don't have one deal on the table, but then Colorado hires Deion Sanders, and now networks are like, oh, we should pay more for this because now they have Deion. Yeah. I was wrong about that. People will watch him. Not just him, but he puts an exciting, quality product on the field, and it has captivated the nation. It's the biggest story in college football. Georgia's the best team in college football. The biggest story in college football is Colorado, and according to Mel Kiper, just to circle back to the initial point, they might be quarterbacked by the guy who could be the number one pick in the 2025 NFL draft if he decides to stay in school that long. It's a fascinating story, and